Day 33. Whew. Are we ready for this? Ready or not? Here we go. Oh, man. No matter how many times you don't get quite ready for that first initial jolt, and it is a jolt. Okay, so Musings 33. Have you ever wondered when you have hit your peak, or when you will hit your peak? You ever thought about that? I guess what made me think about that was this last week. I was at this book signing that I had up in Kansas City, and I met some people that were much younger than me, and some people my age, and some people much older than me. And some were extremely vibrant, and that were much older than me. And it made me wonder, like, at what point do we hit our peak? Yeah, they have stats that say we hit our peak at certain things in our 20s, in our 30s, in our 40s, in our 50s, whatever. But there's somebody that I always think about who hit their peak when they were 80, when they really hit their calling. And it was Moses. Think about that. I think he, was around 40 when he got exiled from Egypt for murder, actually. And he was stuck on the backside of the desert, and he was doing what Egyptians hated the most, which was shepherding. They despised shepherds for some reason, I don't know why. But he went through this tremendous humbling for 40 years. 40 years, man. And when he was 50, he got called into his greatness, which is really unbelievable. 80 years old. And then he spends 40 years, he was 120 when he died, and it said that his eyes had not dimmed and his spirit and strength had not abated. Think about that, 120. And he's not the only one. A guy named Caleb, who was one of the 2 spies that had a good report when they went and scouted out the promised land, and 10 of the spies had evil reports, and they were like, hey, these guys are way too big and fearful, blah, blah, blah. But Caleb and Joshua came back, and they both had good reports, and they were the only 2, besides Moses, that didn't die in the wilderness that they were over 40 or over 20, I think, at the time. And so anybody that was, I think, 20 or 40, I can't remember, when the evil spies or the spies' evil report came back, they all died in the wilderness. But Caleb, another stud at 80, and when they're parceling out the land, Caleb says, I want the hill country, the hardest territory to take. Think about that, at 80. So when you start thinking about, have I peaked yet? I suppose it just depends. There are certain stages and seasons of our life for sure. But if you think that you've peaked, maybe not. You might just have your calling still in front of you. In many ways, man, at 61, I don't feel like I've peaked yet. Certain things, yeah, I can't run as fast as I could and that sort of thing, but there are other things that I'm doing better than when I was in my 20s and 30s and even 40s, even 50s. So I hope that encourages you. Don't give up. You may not have peaked yet.